Hello everybody, this is Influence Danger, and as a newly minted diamond player, now I've got some street cred, so I can talk to you about my decks. I'm a kind of a deck hipster, so I like making my own. So this time around, I'm talking about a prize fight Jack deck. Now, I think Jack is actually designed around prize fight, which, kind of makes sense since a lot of his support cards give you prize fights. But I don't know that it's being explored enough. And so this first game, kind of show you how you can win with some of the prize fight interactions. And I've paired with Ionia, which actually has a lot of strike support. You'll see, how crazy some of the interactions can get, like how much value you get out of those prize fights. If you don't know about prize fight, it's just a 1 mana, basically single combat, but the difference is that neither one of the units can die. They live with at least 1 health, which is a massive help for Swole Squirrel, because his problem has always been that you have to spend a lot to protect him. And, you don't have to spend as much to protect him here because he just won't die, or at least not through prize fight. Of course, being at 1 health, that can be a problem, but if they don't have, some kind of removal, then you get lots of value also through Bark Knuckles. Bark Knuckles gives you Brash, which is basically the keyword that lets this deck win. And it's fearsome, but just for health. So if they have less than 3 health, then they can't block you. So Swole Squirrel gets gigantic benefit out of that, because he wants to strike, and then, they can't block him if he's got Brash, and they prize fought earlier. And there are other units that get big benefits too, like the River Shaper. Whenever he strikes, you get a spell, and so at some points I'm just like, I can get 2-3 spells in a turn, getting more resources, thinning my deck. And of course, setting down the opponent's health so I can then attack with Brash. So you'll see here that I put them into a pretty disadvantageous situation, because Vayne is part of their win condition, right? They want those tumbles. They want to get a good attacking turn. Here, they have a really tough spot because what are their options? They can block. Or if they don't block and they take a whole bunch of damage, I get all this value for free. But if they do block, then they lose their Vayne. So, moving forward, basically I just want to keep establishing my board. Samir comes down. I believe I end up stunning through their units here because their 3/3 has Shepherd's Authority, so it can't block. And then their 5/1 is 1 cost, so it can't block, or 1 health, so it can't block my Brash units. And so they're going to be completely useless on my next turn. And so I'm basically completely shutting them down for this turn as well. Because my board is set. I don't feel any need to trade with them. Those 2 units. Vayne and Samira. I know they don't want to block with Vayne. They already showed me that. And Samira has 2 health, so I'm really not worried about her either. Another thought is, okay, do I spend my coins here to protect my River Shaper? And I say, no, not really. I already got some value out of him, and I get my Bark Knuckles back anyways. So that's another thing, is Bark Knuckles are so good. You don't need any other equipment support, in my mind. Just the way that equipment work in general is just very strong. And so just having the 3 Bark Knuckles, that's enough. Like, there is an Ornn build that I've seen, and it's good, but I don't think you need that. It's just an avenue you can take. I spend 1 mana just to see what they do, because some people will play out, not really thinking that hard about, okay, does my opponent have something strong that they're waiting to play? And luckily, they do kind of play out here. They go for a tumble. Of course, they didn't spend that much for it. But they go for this tumble. Obviously, they're pretty confident in this attack, so they have something in their hand. But I'm actually confident about my response because I have a recall. And it's good that I saved that tag out from earlier, because now I can recall them. So let's see what happens here. So the Vein Condemn comes down. Now, they spent all of their mana on this, so they're really banking on this. And I have a response, so I held that tag out from earlier. Now I can recall their unit and basically completely shut them down. I get this beneficial game state, I win this trade, and they are kind of messed up now. I get value out of that exchange. I still have Brash. They have to think, okay, I have to block with Vayne next turn, essentially, because now my other boss monster, Swole Squirrel, comes down, and I can start setting it up with the Bark Knuckles. Actually, I think I decided to put them on Jack, so he has more than 3 health. But he also levels up. That was kind of an oversight on my part. I think I should have put him on the Swole Squirrel. But it's kind of minutia at this point. Yeah, so I go for the swing. Opponent is in a very tough spot now. They have lots of cards in hand, but their average cost in that deck is pretty high. So I only expect them to be able to play, 2 cards in turn. And since I have Rally in my hand, I feel pretty confident in this game. And this is another nice thing about Jack is when he levels, he gives you 2 coins, which actually I believe enables me to. I think I get to summon Pablo here. Looks like I'm just going straight for the rally. Yeah, and they spend the rest of their mana just to save their Vayne. Which is fine for me. It's impossible for them to kill me this turn, and at this point, if I spend my coins, they can't survive either. Because now I have a 10 attack overwhelm. So yeah, finished the game pretty cleanly on turn 6. So this deck can win pretty quickly. Again, the prize fight value is really nice. And just in general, the actual the combat patterns are generally you have some pretty clear options on what you need to do. I don't think this deck is that hard to play. There can be some thought on options like tag out, do you recall your guy or recall the new guy, but I think those are going to be a good example of how the deck wants to operate. Now, this next game was actually a previous iteration. The game did not go as well, but I just wanted to show you a little bit of the evolution of my thought process. Before I spec'd more into prize fight or just understood how you could take the best advantage of Brash, I thought that to activate Brash, I could bring Misfortune and other pings like that, because I was like, okay, if I just ping them, then I can get them below 3 health and I can attack for free. The thing is, it's too expensive in my mind. I also think I misplayed with Misfortune a little bit. I was like way too conservative with her. Like I was trying to play her like the scout build, where she levels up really fast and you get 2-3 damage. But that was kind of a mistake on my part. But at the end of the day, like prize fight is pretty much all the spell damage that you need, and it gives you way more value.
If I can save a life, I must.
Not a fan of Belveth the Elder. Such a good card.
No prey, no pay.
So this turn ends up being pretty rough for me.
A mistake
The Duran Protector, just her protege, really puts me in a hard position. I basically I don't have a good attack here. Just to be a little conservative, I just swing with the Pocket Picker, and they give me basically the best block I could ask for by blocking with the protege. There is an argument that, okay, if they block with the Belvethi Elder, then I can pop the spell shield and get a damage on it. But, you know, my goal is basically to control the board. And again, since my brash game plan is to have them at 2 health or below, you know, that's kind of already complete there. I should be trading with Misfortune. You know, Misfortune is not how I win the game here, and that was a mistake I made throughout this game, being, you know, too conservative with her. And, you know, there is a thought. It's like maybe she wasn't as bad as I thought, you know, but just having to trade with her. But I just feel like I didn't want 3 drops I had to be conservative with in this game. 5 Punch Pablo, for example, is really nice because, you know, he's got 4 attacks, 1 health. If he summons Prize Fight on his own, which is more synergistic with my deck, and I can just swing out with him, you know, because I'm not trying to protect him to get his, you know, level up or anything like that, because he didn't have one. Now, here I thought, okay, I want to protect my Soul Scroll. If I can do that, then maybe I can win this game, because I do have those 2 ghosts in my hand. And I think this was a good play to make. You know, this is my possible out. Unfortunately, the enemy does have the second form up. And I don't know, there's a world where you play around that, but in my mind, like, I'm already losing board presence, which is the whole way that my deck wins. So I feel like these are the kind of plays I need to make here. But yeah, you'll see them thinking about it for a second. I don't like really care about this Belvethi Elder surviving, and you know, they probably realized at that point, like, hey, you know, this is all about board presence right now. They don't know what's in my hand, but I know what's in my hand, and what's in my hand is pretty bad. So, you know, unfortunately that doesn't go the way I want. I do lose that Soul Scroll, and I'm in a rough spot now. Now I'm in a rough spot, and the rest of this game, you're just kind of see it, you know, play out for the opponent. But I do want to finish talking about the idea of this deck and, you know, how it really functions. Jack is not even the focus of the deck, really. He's a nice stat line, and he does close out games. But honestly, you know, he can win you the game. Swole Squirrel can win you the game. River Shaper can win you the game. Even just, you know, other chumpy units like Pablo, they can win you the game just by having Bark Knuckles on them. It's really all about those prize fights and getting maximum value out of prize fights. That's very highly synergistic with Bark Knuckles. That's probably one of the intended interactions, of course. And, you know, your other units that have their own strike effects, they're just, you know, again, very much benefiting from the prize fights. There's some special win conditions I've packed into the deck, like Ghost. Ghost lets you win with Soul Squirrel, because there's a nice interaction where if you get, I may have mentioned this before, but if you get 2 damage down, then Soul Squirrel can kill the opponent in 2 hits, which is nice if you get a rally. I do end up getting rid of Syncopation as well. After some playtesting, it just wasn't really all that valuable. But Soul Squirrel, after his first attack, goes to 6 attack, and then after that attack goes to 12 attack, so that's 18 damage. So with an extra little boost of 2, you get to 20. So it's an important thing to consider, is basically Soul Squirrel plus Ghost plus Rally can kill the opponent in one turn with 2 damage support. And honestly, I think that's most of what needs to be said about the deck. The game plan is, again, pretty simple. Go for board presence, and if you don't win on board presence, you do have an out, and that's normally with shows. And remember that you do have multiple ways of buffing up your attack. There is, there's Jack. He gets attack when you use coins. Of course, there's Swole Squirrel, just by striking. And then I do also have Mad Old Babs in the deck now. He's kind of a mini Jack. He gets more attack when you control your mana. So even if you do lose on board state, don't necessarily just FF immediately, assuming that you do have that out. You know, you do have some way to get a bunch of damage in one turn elusive.
The starlight isn't a gift.
Yeah, I think this game is about to wrap up, and thank you so much for watching, and check back here at Influence Danger on YouTube to see some more funky decks that'll win you some games. That's the important thing. That'll also win you some games. Thanks.
Make it interesting for me. Now we plan our revenge.